That's my budget. Wait, hang on. I need that. So today's idea comes from a comment that I read talking about making a journal out of cardboard. Although I'm not going to make it necessarily out of cardboard, it got me thinking, how cheap can I make a journal? So I bought some cheap paintbrushes for less than $2, and then I got myself some paints that cost $60. No, don't say that. Then I got myself a book from Goodwill for less than $4. So in total, I'm looking at less than $8 here. And this is a much more reasonable price than the one I made. Now the inspiration I'm going to draw from is from a user on TikTok called Jelly, who made an extremely creative Journal 3. It's got this really cartoony vibe to it that I really like, and I really want to do something similar. That's the name of the book in case you're wondering. I really want to give a special shout out to Tina for being the very first person to buy me a coffee. This video is dedicated to you. Definitely didn't need creamer. So I like to show different techniques on how to transfer stuff, and this is going to be the method I'm going to show you. First, we're going to size down the paper, and we're going to remove any of the excess paper. This will give us a nice clean canvas to work with, and we know how much space we have. I'm going to go ahead and draw out my design, and I came up with the concept a little bit earlier. So it's going to be a very similar idea to Jelly's, but a little bit different. And because I do have plans on doing a journal 4, I'm going to go ahead and skip that number and go straight to 5. So right here, I have a really rough outline of what I want, and I'm going to go ahead and transfer that onto a clean sheet of paper. For this copy, I'm actually going to hold off on cutting the paper, and I'm only going to add an imprint first. From there, I'm going to go ahead and cut out a corner of the page, and I'm going to use this as a template for all those corner protectors. By doing so, I'm going to have a very uniform design for the whole journal, and that's going to tie everything together and make it look like one solid design, and not look so disorganized. Now that we got our final design, let's go ahead and cut off all the excess, and then from there, we're going to go ahead and tape this onto the actual book itself. And the tape is just there so the design doesn't move. From here, go ahead and grab any type of pen and go ahead, while pressing really hard, trace out the design that you made. And what this is going to do is it's going to leave an imprint on the actual leather, and this is going to make it much easier to work with. It gives you perfect guidelines to work with. Now I'm going to go ahead and trace out all my designs, and then from here we can finally start working on the journal. You don't have to do this. If you feel comfortable freehanding it, by all means go ahead and freehand it. Maybe I just need to give it a second chance. I need to make sure I didn't like it. Let's go ahead and open up the acrylics, and I have a white, a black, and a yellow. Man, this piece of shit! It's not necessarily cell shading, but it's very close to it. As in, I'm not going to be blending any of the colors, I'm going to keep all the lines really harsh, and I want to keep it very minimal looking. So for the majority of the paint, I'm actually just going to be using this white acrylic, and I'm thinking this red paintbrush right here is going to be my best bet. The bristles aren't as nice as I'd want them, so using a regular pair of scissors, I'm going to go ahead and cut that in half and reshape that into a point. This will just help give it a little more structure and make it a little less floppy. Now, I know it's really annoying to do, but you're going to have to put down a few layers of white before adding any of that yellow. Now, the reason for that is because yellows tend to be a very transparent color, so before adding any yellow, you want to have a very solid background. In this case, I had to put down 3 layers of white before I felt comfortable moving on to the yellow. If you end up skipping this step, you're going to have one of 2 things. 1, the yellow is going to look weirdly orange because of the red background, or 2, it's going to look really streaky. And neither of those situations are really favorable. So I'm going to give you an example of what that's going to look like. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and put down a bunch of yellow on top of this white, and you can see just one coat already looks really good. However, if you were to put it just straight on the red, you see right here, it has a lot of streaks to it, and you can see that red popping through really easy. And already with just that one layer, you can go ahead and call that good. I'm, however, going to add 2 layers just so I have a really solid looking yellow. Now, because I am limited on colors, I'm thinking if I use mostly white and just a little dollop of yellow, I can create kind of like a cream looking color. This will be the cardboard that's poking through. Even though the majority of this paint is going to be a white acrylic, I still want to put down at least 3 layers. That way the consistency of the paint looks very similar to the rest. And once that's dry, we can go ahead and move on to my favorite part. I always enjoy adding the black outlines last because you get to really see everything come together. It's easy to fall into the mindset of the painting not looking quite as well as you want it to look, but once you add in all the black outlines, everything seems to kind of fall into place. Gonna go ahead and dry that off, and from here I'm gonna want to add really cartoony highlights. So I'm gonna be adding solid white lines to random areas, and I'm only gonna be doing 1 layer for that. And because that cardboard kind of blends in a little too much and looks a little flat, I'm going to add just a little bit of a shadow behind it. This will just help give the illusion that it's underneath that red. And then because it is a little difficult to work with this paintbrush, I'm just going to go ahead and retouch up some of those black lines. And it's not necessary, but I am going to hit mines with a clear spray afterwards, just to help lock everything into place.